Greetings and thank you for visiting my channel once again. Today I will demonstrate how to construct a. I hope you all have a good time watching this video, and please remember to subscribe, like, and comment on it. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment on this post. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment on this post. I never imagined that I would be in a position where I would have to take up a pistol and go hunting for wild boars. To this point, that had always been the responsibility of hunters who worked professionally. For my part, all I wanted was to live a quiet life, cultivate some corn, and keep a few goats. On the other hand, the boars arrived and tore through the fields just before harvest time. The sound of them digging, slamming fences, and destroying everything could be heard almost every night. I simply could not take it any longer. Neither one of us could simply sit idly by. At this point in time, wild boars are considered to be the most significant public enemy in San Marcos. So, in order to settle the score, we made the decision to organize a search. After spending the night tearing over the fields, the boars will typically go into the forest to relax from their exertions. We get an early start and walk into the woods. We are attempting to remain in close proximity to the sound of the dogs barking while holding the gun tightly in one hand and pushing branches aside with the other. To tell you the truth, I am really just getting started with all of this. Therefore, every action is taken with caution. One cannot afford for me to be careless. At that moment, one of the dogs is responsible for bringing a boar out of the bushes. It is too late for me to think, so I raise the gun and pull the trigger. The initial shot was hard, and the boar immediately turned and fled away. It immediately became exhausted as a result of the hunting hound being hard on its heels. This was all that I required. I fired once more, and I was able to win my first trophy. At a leisurely stroll a few hundred meters later, I came face to face with Ashley, who is a member of my squad. It was Ashley who indicated the right. The sight of a large wild boar resting nearby came as a complete surprise to me as I looked over. I was unable to respond in time because the boar suddenly jumped up and charged Ashley in her direction of. I hardly had time to yell out, "Be careful!" before I started firing quite a few times. The entire event took place in a single second, but fortunately the gunshots were enough to scare it away. My heart was racing so hard that it felt like it was about to burst out of my chest as Ashley and I observed the direction in which the boar fled. The distance was much too near. I would estimate that the weight of that item was at least 120 kilograms. As a result of a single charge, a grown man may have suffered significant injuries or possibly been killed. Ashley and I were still scared up from that meeting when we came across another pig that was the same size as the first one. This time, we needed to use greater caution. Following our separation, we took up positions on each side, with our weapons directed front. As soon as the boar made its way between us, the atmosphere was filled with a barrage of fast and harsh gunfire. It was supposed to be the ideal time to eliminate yet another destroyer, but everything transpired before it could even be considered perfect. Even though they were sprinting at speeds of up to 40 kilometers per hour, the boar was able to dash down the slope and vanish. I, along with Ashley, did not give up despite this. They continued to search the area. It's mine too. Soon after, we became aware of a barking sound coming from the northwest. We both understood what that meant, so there was no need for words. My friend was enraged after she was attacked by one pig and missed another. She had been charged by the first boar. He charged forward and with a single clean shot, brought down the beast that was lurking in the brush where it was hiding. As the middle of the afternoon approached, the hunting dogs continued to be active. I have to admit that I felt an overwhelming sense of pride for these bucks. In addition to being quite good at spotting wild boars, they were also very good at pursuing them down and wearing them out the process. To complete the task was now my responsibility. What a bang. One more pest was killed, a win that was easy and enjoyable. In spite of the fact that we only came across lone boars today, each one of them was enormous, chubby, and round. I am not sure if this was a coincidence or not. Consider this one for a moment. At the very least, it must weigh 100 kilograms. It appears that the dogs had pursued it so vigorously that it had lost all of its strength, one that was not even sufficient for it to be wary of our firearms. This one was a bit simple. I pulled the trigger without paying attention to what I was doing so I could aim directly behind its head. Right there on the spot, it fell. We proceeded to see wild boars in a different piece of land that Ashley and I were exploring. In this instance, We were able to discreetly divide up and take our ambush positions. I had a firm grip on my weapon and my eyes were fixed on the bushes in front of me. I simply could not hold out any longer. I shot as a means of luring the prey out of hiding. What a bang! Oh, I see. A bait was taken by it. As a result, there was only one possible outcome. The individual would take a gunshot and then collapse within the boat. What a bang! My uncle's farm in Texas was completely destroyed by a herd of wild boars in the span of a single night. In spite of the fact that he was a seasoned hunter, he was easily overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of pigs and their brazenness this time. Due to the fact that he had no other option, he requested assistance from our hunting crew. Following the completion of the strategy, we directly started our search on the land that belonged to my uncle. We installed automatic feeders in order to entice the boars to come in. Distracted by the aroma of food, the pigs arrived in a hurry, eagerly searching for whatever scraps of food that they could find. Maris gradually took her position, fixed on her target, and then, 1, 2, 3, fire! This occurred while their guard was down, an unblemished single shot. Her ability to drop the boar was astounding, and she did so with complete assurance. During the same time period, my friend Enda and I discovered a few additional boars hiding in the vicinity. I drew within striking distance, selected my target, and pulled the trigger. A lead pellet fired from my air gun made contact with the body of the boar. Surprisingly, it gave forth a piercing shriek before slumping to the ground. I didn't win by a significant margin, but it was a win nevertheless, and that got me pumped up. Seeing that there is power in numbers, we dispersed ourselves over the region in order to increase our chances. Every one of us concentrated very hard, aiming with great care, and firing our rounds quickly and decisively. The aim is to drop as many as you can before the sun goes down that night. The following afternoon, we went back out on the farm grounds to continue the hunt. Almost immediately after our arrival, we came upon a sizable herd of fully grown boars. They stood motionless, monitoring us with a wary eye. Almost instantly, I brought one into my line of sight and fired. One shot, and one of them hit the ground immediately after it was fired. Next, we walked toward another feeder that we had already positioned. Despite the fact that they were still caught in the invisible trap of their appetite, the boars had not yet noticed us. As I waited for the ideal shot, I positioned my rifle in a prone position from a high vantage point. A single squeeze of the trigger resulted in a loud cracking sound coming from the gun. After falling, the boar flashed its eyes. During the time that the sun was setting, we continued to spread feed and waited. In accordance with their nature, the gluttonous pigs were unable to resist the aroma, regardless of where they were located. I moved closer to them while concealing myself behind a shrub and keeping a distance from them. When I was certain that my target was within striking distance, I pulled the trigger. Only one shot that was well placed was all that was required to bring the hog down. After the sun had set, we went back to our enclosed hunting blinds to complete the last round of the game. I positioned myself in a favorable position, brought my aim into focus, and then shot when the time was right. The execution was flawless. The shadowy figure retreated and lay down in a position that was perfectly still. The boar had passed away. It is common knowledge that Louisiana, which is situated in the southern region of the United States, is renowned for its extensive marshes and wilderness. Wild boar hunting is one of the most perfect activities that can be done in this area because of the harsh natural conditions. However, because to the difficult terrain and humid temperature, every hunt in this area requires more than simply a certain level of ability. It is a true test of one's patience and determination. When we went there this time, we went to a hunting field in the northern part of Louisiana that was licensed. As soon as we arrived, we immediately dispersed ourselves to our various vantage spots, keeping our eyes on every direction. Take a look. They are located below. We decided to give Alicia, the lone woman in our group, the opportunity to take the picture this time. The boar abruptly fell to the ground. A clean takedown, commemorating the first evening in which we were successful. I was able to conceal myself from the boar's sight as well as its scent by using a hunting blind that was already constructed. When I looked straight ahead, I noticed a small bunch of wild pigs for the first time. In terms of size and number, they were not very large. However, they were not paying attention to any potential threats since they were preoccupied with the bait that we had prepared. The scope was fine-tuned, the shot was positioned, and I latched onto the target. It was time to act now. After a light squeeze on the trigger, the gun went off. The sound of a clear, sharp gunshot reverberated. When the bullet struck, one of the pigs took it in the head. That particular lunch, which they were so engrossed in, turned out to be the final one. During the time that I was still searching the region for additional indications of movement, one of our seasoned hunters, Baldric, had discovered a whole sounder full of wild boars. Everyone, no matter how big or how small, is vying for food. While he remained hidden behind a tall tree close to his stand, he concentrated on the two individuals who were the largest in the group. Baldric refrained from firing immediately and instead waited calmly, allowing the pigs to completely withdraw their defenses. There was a booming shot that rang out. Due to the vastness of this hunting zone, Lloyd made the decision to get in the truck and proceed to explore the area in search of better prospects. Ahead of us, we came across an automatic feeder, which was undeniably a popular destination for boars. After coming to a stop, Lloyd cautiously exited the truck and then proceeded to enter. The pigs had already come, as was to be expected, having been drawn in by the aroma of the bait. When he had found the ideal vantage point, he held his breath, focused his attention on the target, and then pulled the trigger. A crisp, perfect shot, and it's over. Another stunning trophy was added to the collection. As the sun descended below the tree line, we were making our way back down a small track when all of a sudden, we noticed three silhouettes that were familiar to us. I couldn't believe how many of them there were. They were all grazing without a care in the world, from the tiniest of piglets to heavy-set adults. To take the picture, I chose the one that appeared to be the largest and most powerful. Despite the fact that my heart was racing, I managed to keep my composure. The moment it came into my line of sight, I pulled the trigger on the weapon, and in that instant, it had stopped breathing. An overwhelming sense of triumph swept over. Jason had his sights set on a solitary boar that was slowly making its way through the dense pine cover deep within the central portion of the hunting zone. It moved with caution, pausing every few paces as if it were aware of the presence of danger in the atmosphere. Jason did not allow it to become a secret. As he raised his weapon, he made sure to maintain his aim. The tension lasted for a few seconds. Boom! A thunderous shot pierced the silence that had been present. The boar, which weighed a huge 200 kilograms, fell not too far from where it had been standing. As you looked at it, its dark coat, which was covered with bristles, stood out like a shadow against the woodland floor. That's it. In the past, wild boars were a part of the wild and uncontrolled wilderness. In contrast, during the past few years, they have been reproducing at an alarming rate, and they have rapidly become a nightmare for the people of Colorado. From the fringes of the forest, they have begun to appear in enormous numbers over the fields, wreaking havoc on the crops and creating damage that is getting progressively more severe and extensive. When confronted with this fact, hunting is no longer merely a recreational activity. The preservation of the land, the crops, and the means of subsistence for the people who live in the area has become a mission. Every aspect of today's hunt, from the firearms and ammo to the dogs used for hunting, was meticulously organized. Our first step was to move into a region that wild boars frequent on a regular basis. All of our heartbeats were like strings that were drawn. In front of us was a field that had just been harvested. Totally open and vast, this area is wonderful for ambushes since it is ideal for feeding wild boars, but it is also ideal for hunting. Because there was nothing that could block the view, the first target became calm. A solitary hog was seen walking along the perimeter of the field. A gun was raised by me. I jerked the trigger after taking careful aim at the target. The boar was hit by a few gunshots, and it immediately collapsed on the spot after being hit. However, in order to find additional targets, we had to reroute our efforts toward the steep region behind the field, where the difficult terrain displayed significant evidence of wild boar activity. This helped us feel more optimistic about our chances of success. As soon as we arrived, I proceeded to select a high and open vantage point in order to improve my visibility. Oh no. There was not much time that passed before the next target materialized. The creature made a hasty descent down a slope and attempted to flee into a dense undergrowth below. I immediately raised my gun, precisely timed my shot, and then pressed the trigger without any hesitation. Suddenly, A barrage of gunfire rang out. The boar was struck and tumbled downward after being hit. We made the decision to relocate to a lower, flatter region after around an hour had passed in order to improve our chances of identifying targets from a greater distance. Now was the time when the pack of hunting dogs really showed their finest. Due to the fact that there were fewer obstructions in their path, they were able to readily pick up odors and go down the slope. Due to the limited number of trees and the limited number of hiding places, we hunters had to exercise extraordinary caution and maintain complete silence. Wild boars are particularly vigilant animals. If we did not maintain a high level of concealment, they would be able to readily identify our presence and instantly run away.